Hi all, thanks for joining me. I just was going to give you a bit of insight of what happens in the shop. Often I do over-the-counter readings, but first of all I just had a little bit of introductory. The first thing I was doing this morning was setting a square of 9 squares in the box so that I can split my talk up into 9 sections and make sure I keep on time with what I'm going to tell you. However, with a mind like mine, we often think out the box. So I might go off course now and again. So you'll just have to bear with me. So what I've done with the infinity process, which is behind here, I'll go through that just now. It's basically using your breath to slow your mind down. But what I wanted to just say, I've been doing a lot of different types of modalities of breath. And if you see in the bio, I've been done quite a lot of shamanic work during the course of this experience of being human. So that's why I always start off with people in the shop who come in for a reading usually, or come to buy a crystal because they need some help, whatever that is. And I always say to them, we are spiritual beings having the human experience. So I said, do you actually know what that means? And for me, and always take what I'm saying, what resonates with you, because this path has a different experience for everyone. That's why just myself is going to be on a whole group of people speaking on this platform, all have different insights and information that they can pass on to you. And every one of us has something unique to share with people. And that's why we have a purpose. Every single human being has a purpose, like every plant, every tree has a purpose. Otherwise, there'd only be one of us. There'd just be me, one tree, one bird. So there's always more than one of the same, even including the opposites of not good stuff. That's what they are. So for me, I followed the path for quite a long time. So we are spiritual beings having the human experience. I think for me, I probably got lost and thought, well, I've got to become more spiritual, which is basically not really how I see it now. I see it that we are spiritual. Do we have to wear crystals? Do we need to do rituals? I think that part of life is we do rituals. I got up this morning, a lot of info was going through my mind about this talk today. And so the ritual was I got up, I lit some incense smudge, which I do most mornings, go outside, make a cup of coffee, watch the sun coming up, do a sun meditation, getting the energy of the sun onto the body. So those are rituals which give us some sort of purpose on life. It's interesting, here where I am, they just started a cane fire outside. So it's always interesting to listen to your surroundings. Yeah, the flames are quite loud. In fact, the light's changing because it's coming through. So for me, that's always what it's going to be about, is listen to your surroundings, hear your surroundings, as opposed to process it in your mind. So I say to people, and this is my experience, and always an experience of, they're getting very loud now. I don't know if it'll pick it up on that. I have got a forest sort of background here at the moment, so it's not dead quiet. So being spiritual, having the human experience. So what is the ritual that Spirit has chosen to do? It's to have this human experience. And this is the human experience. Whatever we're doing right now, no matter what you've done in your life, everything you've done up to this point is perfect. It's absolutely perfect. We may come from the mind and look at it differently and see, no, it wasn't, we did that. But that's just coming from the mind. And I think a lot of us have done a disconnect from our feeling body. So it's to have the human experience. And now the flames are getting brighter because we use a lot of elements and surroundings. So with the infinity, we're going to use the sound, which is always current. It's there, it's in this moment. And the other thing that's current is your breath. So just to go back to some of the things I'd written down. First of all, I wanted to thank you for being on the opposite side of wherever you are, because without you, I wouldn't be doing this to anyone. I mean, I could go and talk to trees or talk to the fire that's going out the bush. But so we always need the other to say how we feel. And I keep reminding myself, and this may happen to you, how we give advice and to people in our lives, and really we're not listening to what we're saying, because usually what we're saying is what is actually for us. So thank you for being the I that I am, and reflecting back to me. So thank you for being where you are right now, because without you, this wouldn't have a purpose. The plants would just think this is a crazy person talking to a device in the middle of nowhere. And the light's starting to go dark out there because the smoke's going into the sun. Interesting how it always happens. So so I was thinking out the box. So with all these experiences that we have, this is what we've come here to experience, whether it's a spiritual experience, losing your confidence, all that sort of stuff in life is just basically, that's what it's about. And I see it as an experience. I think because we've all been brought up in education and we've been taught stuff. For me, knowledge is great, and obviously we gain knowledge from all our surroundings, and then it's turning it, like the indigenous people, turning it into a knowing. So like in the indigenous people, for example, say in the Amazon where you've got medicine people, they would sit very quietly where they are, and they were looking for a particular medicine, plant medicine, in order to shift or create more enlightenment. And 5,000 plants, and then suddenly one of them came through to them and said, this is the one you use. And it was the ayahuasca plant. So I've actually done ayahuasca the one time, and it was a very amazing experience. And I mean, the plant medicine is a tool, but it's not the be-all and end-all. You know, it's like religions and spiritual paths are tools for you to gather and then go on to a different experience. So, and basically what ayahuasca does, it actually it releases DMT into your pineal gland. So you do see amazing stuff, although you probably can't function too well in the world. And I know for 8 hours, couldn't even get in a car or anything like that. And a very, very good friend, Metzator, who was the dragon tattoo artist of the movie, The Dragon Tattoo Lady. And he taught me a lot because he had done a lot of ayahuasca himself. And he's now got a retreat in the Amazon. And even him and the shamans there saying the ceremonies of ayahuasca, because people are getting more and more conscious, and not having to be done as much. But there are some people that will go to it, and I was going to go there and spend 22,000 to go to do the ayahuasca, and then suddenly it pitched up in Durban with someone here, and I did it. And at that point, I was able to communicate with, seeing everything as all connected. There's no separation. And I mean, Greg Baird and all these guys talk about the field. There's lots of people. So in fact, what I'm telling you is not new. That's what I always liked about John Keogh when we did the Awakening course. He didn't say this is new stuff. He just said, this is stuff that's there. I'm reminding you. I'm just reminding you. So some of the things I speak about may be reminding you. Or giving you some insights or that type of thing. And some of you may not. It's not important. So with the ayahuasca, what it does, it releases this DMT, which usually our body creates, producing melatonin and serotonin. So sleeping creates those hormones in your body. So if you sit in the dark for 5 days completely, your DMT might get released. If you do breath works, your DMTs can get, and then obviously if you do the plant medicine, and I've been doing, it's a Kundalini breath, and all this stuff, by the way, it's always a good idea to find someone who's done it before you, but I've been looking a lot online. There's a guy called Dr. Joe Pazenza. He talks a lot about this breath stuff and the pineal gland, and waking up and being able to see. And not that, the thing is, that's an escape. It's not like sitting in that space and not coming to the world and actually have the experience, because this is the experience. So, you know what the Buddhists say, before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. And chop wood, carry water is exactly what we're doing in this moment in time. Get into a car, go to a shop, go to work, do that, look after children, whatever it is for you. So what it is in that experience of seeing, and if you go and check Joe out, and Greg Baden also mentions it, Dr. Bruce Lipton also mentions this stuff, it does give you a different outlook on life. And I mean, the Tibetans, Greg Baden researched them a lot, and he was with them 9 months, and they saw the whole reality different as to what we normally do, just as vibrations. But because our mind is seeing something still, because everything's atoms and it's moving around fast. And I mean, for example, if you put your finger into water, it's atoms moving, but it's slow, so you can put your finger in. If you put it into what is a solid object, it's going very fast, like a crystal or a rock or a bench. It's still moving, but it's very fast. So if it was like a fan, you'd be able to put your finger in very quickly and not get hurt. However, we've probably lost that ability. So that's where the medicine people are. They see stuff from that point of view, which is beneficial, and pass it on. So there are with this breath, what actually, and the reason why I'm always intrigued about it, and I have shared it with quite a few people on different groups and whatever, is that because we are electromagnetic fields, we've got to be connected to the earth, and we've had a big disconnect because we wear shoes all day long, we sit in offices, and we're not connected. So very much like a tree, it has to be connected. If it's not connected to the earth, it's not going to be vibrant and survive. So, I mean, if you go walk on the beach, bare feet, your electromagnetic field gets revitalized. I mean, even some guys making money out of, well, not making money out of that, develop very simple devices with copper, and with that copper on a bed, people's bodies heal. So it's a bit like hyperbarics. So with that electric current going up your spine, what it does, it hits the pineal gland, and inside the pineal gland there's piezo crystals. Now, our body is a lot of its crystalline structure. I mean, it's all the elements of the earth put into a physical form. So why I'm intrigued about it, because it's got piezo crystals, which basically piezo crystals are basically like a bit of quartz, like I'm wearing over here. When you put pressure on it, when you put pressure on any crystal, it then increases that piezo effect. The piezo effect creates more electricity. And when it hits the pineal gland, it then gives you the ability to start seeing stuff and seeing that everything's connected all the time and there's no separation. So that's everyone. I say to everyone, it's not, you know, the nice people or the not nice people. This is the duality of this place, is that everything has an opposite. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to experience it. There was no bad or challenging stuff. I actually don't like the word bad. There's no challenging stuff. You wouldn't know what challenging is. So it's just to get to the place to actually realize that this is changing all the time. But however, we humans now don't really like change, and we've had a big wake-up call regarding change because nature's woken us up. And as I said to someone, it'd be nice if we could be more like nature. And a friend of mine was sharing with me just recently. He said, "Barry, do you know why birds sing?" And I said, "Yeah, isn't it probably territorial?" He says, "No, actually, there's some birds, and it's quite interesting, the synchronicity, the more you get connected and more you in the present moment and not all over the place and maybe being trapped in devices and information like that, the more you like it, the synchronicity of life becomes quick and easy. It doesn't always mean amazing, but it becomes quick and easy. So he said, no, what it does is that when certain birds sing, certain trees and plants open their flowers, and what happens is the nectar is then reveals, and the birds come in and feed on it. And I always say no currency, and it's thriving. It's done for free. 2 or 3 days later, a lady who taught me kahuna massage, she lives in Hawaii now, directly below us here, and I mentioned it to her, and she says, "Oh, this is the bird, this is the plant." So you always get confirmation when you're actually fully present. And it becomes easier and easier when you do that. So sitting for meditation, being focused. And usually in life, if we're not doing those things, we will have certain events which bring us into this moment, whether it's an accident or, just stuff. Just this is what it's about. So obviously, as I said, you don't go rush into doing the breath works and stuff like that. I taught Tibetan exercise exactly the same. It's the 6 rites. It's a yoga exercise that also activates that, very gentle, and they call that the fountain of youth. So I always remember teaching that up in Winston Park, where I had some quite elderly people, sort of my age now, come in, and they were decrepit and that, and literally in about 2-3 weeks of the session, just one day, and practicing at home now and again. And they're 10-minute exercises. Their energy changed in their body, and they started feeling revitalized and more energy. So I just wanted to use the purposes for me. The 2 things that are most important is your breath and sound. So now that fire has dropped away a bit there, and you're going to hear my voice. So when we do the infinity process in the shop, first of all, I'll draw some cards for people. I've done that now. I'll show you what they are. And then secondly, we get to a place where it's a very simple process. Using sound, and outside when we're in the shop, the traffic's noisy. So I always say we don't have to go and stop the sound or the traffic. We're allowed to be. So that noise can also be your mind. Your mind's always very busy. So if you try and stop it, it's going to be quite difficult. So you just allow it to be in the background, like the fire was just now, like that song of the birds in the background. And my mind saying, maybe it's a bit loud. Listen to the mind, say, okay. You can treat the mind like a third person. It's actually quite a good idea. It's not getting rid of it. The mind is there. I feel we need to have the mind. What time is it? Because we've been put on the time track. What's for dinner? What time do we have? Make some phone calls, connect to people, network, whatever it is. That's what the mind is used for. However, we've come to a disconnect where we only think the mind's the only thing that's working. The body's just there to drive it. And then the body says, oh no, I'm in charge. So it's combining both of them in that. There's a very good thing that Missing Links, Greg Braden, he talks about the heart-mind connection. There's also a thing called, I'm telling you probably stuff that a lot of you people on this platform will know. It's called heart math. And what happens, a very simple process. He says if you put your hands together, it's in the prayer position, but energetically your heart then starts to open up. And he uses, if you just repeat, gratitude, appreciation, caring, compassion. He says in 72 hours, neurons can be created physically in the heart, creating new pathways about how you see and feel things. In fact, and why I like Greg, he does everything scientific. He's half Native American Indian, but he comes from a scientific background, a geologist, all that sort of thing. Now I've come back from this type of being in geology, meteorology, and business and all that sort of stuff. And that's why I like his stuff, because it's proved. You look at it online. So that just using the words create a reality. And that's the other thing when people come for reading, whatever words are coming out of your mouth will create the reality for you, because it's, if you've been to someone who's never seen a pen in their life and you hold the pen up and say, pen, they won't see it. So when you're repeating words that have a lower energy, it creates the reality. And I'm not saying don't do it. I'm not saying, it's just about a choice on how you actually go through your daily life. So the cards I drew was interesting. These are medicine cards, which you can go and Google online later, if we can believe what Google says, but I'm sure Google's okay. So that's the medicine card of horse, which basically says stand in your power, usually by speaking up. A lot of us don't choose to speak up a lot because we think we're going to offend someone. So, I mean, it's easy to speak up. It's about people's behavior, and this is a short. I want to make this just short so we don't overstep our time frame. You're allowed to say how you feel about their behavior. Your behaviors make me irritated, frustrated, sad, angry, disappointed, fearful, whatever it is. So I'm feeling that. As much as to say, like on the opposite here of the infinity, you've got a positive, negative. You're allowed to say how someone's positive behavior, but you never ask them to change it, because both of them exist, and then you feel it. So I often say to people, you come into the shop, if you were feeling love, joy, happiness, and laughter, would you have come in to buy a crystal for that? I mean, some people do come in to buy crystals, and just, it's not only everyone comes in for the healing side of it, of that. And they sort of look at me, and I said, no, you probably wouldn't. They said, yeah. So I said, well, why are we in here? Because we're not feeling the negative feeling. So if you're not speaking up, it's something that you can choose to do, and you're not going to offend anyone, because you can just say your behaviors make me angry, for example. I'm feeling angry. This is me angry, not me. And just feel it. And then the key always, I'm never asking you to change. You know, it's like saying to nature, please change. I don't want a thunderstorm, a cyclone here, because it's just here. So you allow it to be. And when you can get to that space, speaking up is very beneficial. Sometimes you don't even have to do it directly. And I mean, in part of the reading, what I do is a thing called Ho'oponopono, where you can actually just thank the people who've given you that behavior for them doing it. It's worth looking at. I won't go in detail about it. It's basically a theory by Dr. Hugh Lin. He basically worked with a whole bunch of people in prison without seeing them, and kept on saying, thank you, I love you, please forgive me, I'm sorry. And quite after a number of 18 months or so, the people actually got out of the psych ward. But he didn't heal them. He was very specific. He said, I actually healed myself because I was seeing my anger, my sadness, my disappointment. And that was done remotely, and it cleared. So you're always allowed to say how you feel if you don't want to speak to people directly. The second card, there's normally three, which we do, is the Coyote. I love this one because when this comes up, it means exactly that. It's the coyote chasing its own tail. And it's a 1 and a 3. 1's usually a new beginning, 3 is reward and success. That's just on the numerology side. So it's the antics of Coyote. It's usually creating chaos. And I mean, as I said before, your mind can be the Coyote, because usually what it is. So when we do the infinity process just now, it's going to get to a space where you're going to allow both that chaos to be there. Just by using your breath and listening to the sound. The other card is Bat, Bat out of hell. Bat is usually, because bats hang upside down, so it's a rebirth. It's what they call a shamanic death, as it were. So I think a lot of us have been going through that lately, because suddenly all our constructs about who we are and what we should be doing is just being pulled away, and we've had to wake up very quickly. We'll get through it. I've obviously related this. I mean, I've spoken to people who've been in the Second World War, and some their grandfathers before that. They went through hectic times, and they got through it, because humans here, they tend to be innovative. Things are going to change. We're going to do things differently. It is scary sometimes, and you're allowed to feel that. You can feel it in your stomach area. So. And then I wrote down, I got halfway through my notes, and then I went for a walk on the beach. And I was going to come back and start on the infinity, which I'll do now. So I've been talking for 20 minutes. The infinity symbol, the process is very simple, but the mind says, no, I want something complicated. And I've been doing this for quite a while in the shop. So the infinity symbol process is the infinity, and then you're going to unravel it in your mind and turn it into a zero. So basically here, I'm giving you a lot of mind stuff now, but when we do the actual exercise with the flute in that just now, I want to have all the words and information done. So there's the infinity symbol, and here's the zero. So if you twist the 8, it becomes a 0. So it was quite interesting. Probably about 3 years ago, someone saw, they know I do this, so they saw an infinity symbol in a rock. Some people said it looked like breasts. It's not, but or 2 eyes. It's the eyes of an owl, whatever it is. And this is, I don't know, maybe 2-3 million years old, which is young in geology. And then if you turn it over, there's the 0. So basically what we're doing with this process is you align everything to be, and I'll go into a little bit of detail now, and I'll talk you through it while you have your eyes closed. So everything becomes nothing with a twist. So all the stuff that you've got in your head about, am I going to have work, will I have money, what's going on, the country's doing this, that, the world's doing that. It gets to a stage where you're allowed to be like the earth is. The earth is spinning around right now. There's hectic, there's cold weather in the berg. There's hectic locusts that are doing somewhere in Africa. And this has been doing it for 4.5 billion years, and it's still here. We humans think we're quite important. We've only been here in a 24-hour clock. We've been here 7 minutes. We haven't done an amazing job though. And I always say to people, it's interesting that nature was allowed to be here first and always seems to, at some level, thrive even after there's been annihilation through geological events. They stay behind. And just recently, just to share, not to go too much more, is they've realized, in fact, even the Japanese did, they were culling a lot of whales for eating. And they realized that the fish that they were eating disappeared, and they thought there'd be an abundance. But in actual fact, that's not how it works. Because what happens, the whales go right to the bottom of the ocean, then come up and bring the plankton from the bottom of the sea. And that feeds the fish, so the fish come in. So the whales are actually very, very important. And they've actually got that now. So yes, there is some enlightenment. It just took a lot of whales to be slaughtered, which is just what humans do. So those are the type of modalities we use in the shop. So what I'm going to do now, we're going to use a flute here, which is a Navajo flute. And at the end of the process, I'm not going to speak again. So that once the flute is done, then the process is finished. And I had the guy who makes my incense, who comes into the shop. He sees stuff often. I don't know how he sees it. I think he doesn't do drugs, but he's an incense maker. And he said to me he hadn't heard me play the flute, so I should play it for him. And he actually studied with some Canadian Indians and in Tibet, so he learnt a lot about incense and smudging and stuff like that. So using Native American Indian and Tibetan, even Japanese stuff. So we'll talk you through it. And as I've got on here, so the sound will be the last thing. And he said, when you blow the sound, then everything you've done in this healing over the counter, it's done. It's done. It's gone up. It's done. He said there was some guy standing behind me, medicine man by a teepee. I mean, I often have a lot of people in the shop seeing that. I don't see that, but that's fine. I know there's some people in the group that you can see that they put in, they are very good with that. So connect with all those people who are also spending their time putting this video together. So I'm going to ask you, so here's the words that we're doing. You can add anything in there: sad, angry, fear, any of those that you might be feeling. And then the opposite would be whatever: sad, joy, fear would be peace, freedom, whatever it is, loved, whatever that is. So we're basically going to use 3 breaths. So I'm going to ask you to feel, and we can go to fear because that's at the bottom, because if we're fearless, then I wouldn't have to be talking to you. And then the opposite side would be the feeling of the opposite of fear, whether it's peace or freedom for you. And you'll choose a color while we're doing that. I'll ask you to choose. It's not important, by the way. It's just to keep the mind, give it something to do. So we've got 2 opposites, the positive and the negative, okay? So the only way for me how the mind works, it works, this is the time track of this mind, this outer circle over here, okay? So we're running around on the time track of the mind. The mind's making us run around. There's that, there's this. And it goes, sometimes it goes fast, sometimes it goes slow, sometimes it stops, whatever it is. Maybe when you're sleeping it stops, sometimes it doesn't. So the mind only works with words and stories. So these are the words, and they're stories. So the words and stories, so if you keep repeating over and over again, so if you go for healings and that, and you're telling the story over and over again, you're actually affirming that it exists. So that's why I'm always say to you, be conscious of what's coming out of your mouth, because it does create a reality, and it's been proved. In fact, Greg Baden's got a really good, it's called Being Conscious and Speaking. And he actually shows you, and some of you might have seen, what's it, Down a Rabbit Hole, What the Bleep. In fact, the filmmaker was Dr. Joe Pizenza. I was unaware of that. So he physically shows you when you speak a word, because when you observe something, the atoms change. So when you're speaking words, it has to create a reality some way. And if it's a negative thing, it'll create the negative thing. That's why possibly in life we keep on saying someone is always so and so and so and so. And guess what? That's exactly what they are for you, not for everyone else. And it's the experience that you get. But there's no judgment. I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying be aware of it and notice, because we could manifest it. Usually we can manifest the car park. Our angels. Thank you, birds. And what happens is we think that's amazing, but we are manifesting the opposite stuff all the time, just to have the experience of being human. So we're on 30 minutes. This is going to take about another 6 to 8 minutes on. So I'm just going to ask you to gently close your eyes. I'm going to talk this. Just find a comfortable place and take a breath, a nice breath into it. And what I normally do in the shop with you is I smudge you, which is just to clear any energy, negativity in your body as we go through this. And the nice thing about it is I always tell people you don't have to come back into the shop for a smudge every time, although I do have people come in for that. And the smudge, the breath is your smudge. So you've got it wherever you are, okay? So you don't have to go out and get it. So I'm going to do this, the 3. Right, so the infinity symbol, as I said, take a nice breath and close your eyes. And remember what I said at the end of that, once you've heard the flute, I'll leave the video running a little bit and just listen to your surroundings as I speak you through it. This is probably going to be about another 10 minutes. And as I mentioned, while people are doing it, the smudge is going, it's been burning here, and just clearing the area as we speak about it. So again, I'll demonstrate it on my board here, but I want you to just keep your eyes closed for the ones who are just going to watch it. So when we sit peacefully quiet right now, I want you to just take a breath and feel any of those feelings that might be running with you right now, whether it's sad, angry, fear. It's not important, it's the feeling that we're going to deal with. So just take a breath in and feel the feeling of fear or sadness. And they're usually not nice feelings. So choose not to choose to come out of the mind and just feel the feeling of fear or sadness. And that's good. Just feel it for a bit, not for a long time. As much as you'd feel a happy feeling, it only lasts maybe 30, 40 seconds, and then it changes again. So just feel the feeling of fear. And a nice breath, just to feel it. The breath is a very powerful tool. So the surroundings, you'll hear the birds. So just reminding you that when the flute's been played, it's the end of the session. So I want you now to go from that side to the positive side, the opposite feeling of fear, anger, sadness, whatever it is. It's not important what it is, it's just a feeling. So say for example fear, we might feel freedom, and I would want you to choose a color. It's not important, don't deliberate if it's black, red, green, yellow, orange. It's not important. Just to actually choose a color and focus on that, what color it is. So say for example, for sadness, we might choose the color of yellow. It's all dependent on you. It's not important. So just take a breath now and choose any color to feel the positive side. So we say enjoy. It's good. And just feel joy for a moment. And just feel it. Not to get rid of the opposite, just to feel joy, freedom, uplifting. Good. Joy. So we're allowing the feelings to be felt instead of running the stories. Feel the feelings. Nice loud breath for yourself, wherever you are. Joy. Listen to the surroundings. It's quite peaceful in here now. Sounds of the jungle in the background. The dove chirping in the distance. Okay, that's the second breath. The third breath, we're now going to imagine a figure of 8. We're going to twist it in our mind and turn it into a 0. Turning it into a 0. So as you do this, allow both feelings to exist. So we say the feeling of sadness and joy. So right now, just take a breath and allow sadness and joy to come into your experience. Take a nice breath. Sadness and joy in the 0. Okay. Allow it to be there. In the 0. So what you've done is you've actually duplicated what actually happens on the planet, because there's always two opposites existing at the same time. Even in your body, you have good and the opposite of good in bacteria, and it's still alive, it's existing. So your body knows how to do this, the earth knows how to do it. We the ones have forgotten how to do it just by allowing the two feelings to be together. So sadness and joy. Allow it, take another breath. So what we've done, we've actually, keep your eyes closed right now. What we've done is that we've now put sadness into the center instead of it running on the time track of the mind, which is the outside circle. And then you've allowed the feeling of joy to come into the same spot. So in what they call soul center, or in the moment, in this time, we've allowed both feelings to be together in the 0. And remember what I said, when you do this, everything becomes nothing with a twist. And if your mind was spinning a lot with this in the beginning, that's perfect. If it was ticking over, it's perfect. There's no right or wrong way. It's to step out of it and just feel it. Like if you would go to the beach in the morning and You don't have to process what's there for you. It just feels uplifting. And you're hearing the sounds. So just feel the feeling you've created right now. And if your mind's getting busy, you can tell your mind to go away, or you can just allow it to be. So feel that feeling. And know any time that you're given this experience by other people's behaviors, life experiences that make you feel sad, fearful, angry, you can actually just allow it to be in your space. You can speak up about it later on, but this is just to get the feeling in your body. So you don't sit on fear, because you'll end up with fear and anger. Anger will be sitting in your liver. So this allows your body to clear all this stuff, to allow it to feel it, as much as it does to feel joy and laughter and happiness. So feel the feelings, listen to the surroundings. Wherever you are, it might be noisy. Allow it to be. So we're going to now end this off with the flute. This is a Navajo flute. Thank you.